Good morning. My name is Maria Guerra Lapacek. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, and welcome to our webinar on our Solution Station. Today we have with us David Johnson from Accion Chicago. Axion visits us in our Solution Station every other Thursday, and he's here to talk about all of the great programs that Axion has and how they help small businesses. Welcome, David.
Good morning. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Great. So tell us what Axion is. What do you guys do in general for small businesses?
Sure. Axion's a nonprofit microlender. We've been around for over 20 years, and we operate in Chicago, the suburbs, Northwest Indiana, all throughout Illinois. And as a microlender, what we're doing is providing financing for small businesses through small business loans. And it can be any type of small business, an existing business, a completely new startup, and again, providing that financing end, and as a nonprofit too, providing the technical assistance and the one-on-one coaching and relationship building with the business.
Great. And when you come in every other Thursday for our Solution Station, what can people expect?
That one-on-one aspect. So there might be a couple of us even there, and our goal is to go out into the room and meet the businesses. And that's a really cool part for us. And again, having that one-on-one aspect is getting to know the story. And being here is such a natural fit because we're able at the start to understand their story, talk to the business owner, see what their needs are, see what their interests, passions are. So being able to have that connection right away is really beneficial for us and for the business.
Great. And what should they be prepared if they want to come in one of the Thursdays that you're here? What do they need to bring in with them to be helpful to you?
As many documents as they have. I would say business plan is always going to be the number one thing for us or any other lender is just so we can, again, understand that picture and the story. So if they have that and maybe their projections, if they're already at that state, that way we can have as in-depth of a conversation as they're ready for, but really just coming with their story and their, their attitude and being able to meet them and talk to them. I would say the documents for us at that state aren't as important as just understanding their picture and their needs, and then as we go along with them, that's when we can look more at documents. But I would say business plan is a great thing to have right off the bat for us to have that first conversation.
Now, do you also do counseling regarding the business plan itself, or do you just do counseling with respect to the financing of the business?
Both. I would say the technical assistance in whatever capacity we can. I'm not going to say I'm an expert at certain things that they're going to need, especially like on the legal end maybe or something like that. So that's why we partner with so many other organizations in the community and ones that are at the business station here too. So if we're not able to provide the specific advice, we can refer them to all the other organizations that are out there in the community. And all of our goals are the same, to get that business to the point where they need to be. So if that's us or somebody else, we'll line them up where they need.
Great. So what's a common problem that you guys see that you're able to help with? What's something that is kind of standard that that you guys are able to help with?
Sure. I would say the financing in general. I mean, that's what we're doing, and that is a big problem for small businesses. There's kind of an open space in the market where we try to operate. Our average loan size is $9,000 to $10,000, and we can start at $500 on up. And that's an area that just doesn't have a lot of healthy options for small businesses. That can be an area that a bank is not necessarily going to be looking at if it's something on that lower end. And there's a lot of predatory lending options out there right now, a lot of online-based options that can really hurt small businesses right off the bat. So as far as where we're able to step in and address an issue is by providing that financing, transparent terms, and just that one-on-one coaching again, where we can help them find credible options.
That sounds great. And you also are one of the city's 3 microlenders.
Yeah.
So the city created the $2 million revolving fund in order to give small businesses. And as you mentioned, the average loan within that portfolio is about $9,000 to $10,000. So we're dealing with pretty, small business where, as you mentioned, a bank would never entertain the thought of all of the paperwork that they do for that amount of money.
Right.
How is it that you guys are able to make this work?
Well, as far as a funding perspective, as a nonprofit, we are able to recapture a little bit from the interest rates like on loans, but we're doing a lot through our fundraising team, our community development team, some government funds and situations like that. So as far as why we're able to keep an operation, that's kind of our picture. And then again, just being a mission-driven organization where the city recognizes and everyone recognizes that this is an area that needs to be addressed.
Right. And you've worked with a lot of small businesses yourself personally. Can you, without naming the business, can you talk about like a success story that made you feel really good? I'm sure in general you feel good about the work you do, helping businesses stay open, helping businesses grow. Is there one that, you know, kind of tugged at your heartstrings and, you know, you want to talk about?
Sure. No name drop, sorry. But one right off the bat was a return client, and I think it kind of speaks to our process and where I see us being involved again. It was somebody who got a loan on the very low end, even with us initially. He was just starting up. He actually moved from Missouri, was incorporating in Chicago, kind of going through that whole process. So got the initial loan with us just to build the credit and build the picture here locally, and then was able to come back 2 years down the road and get a larger loan through us, secure some higher amounts of financing at lower interest rates as he built that credit picture on his own personal end, as he got established and kind of grew the business in Chicago. And then our ultimate goal, and hopefully in this case, is to get these businesses to be bankable. So as he continues to grow, maybe needs higher financing, builds a stronger picture personally, he can go to maybe a bank or a larger financing institution, and that seems to be the path where they're going. So that's our ultimate goal, is to see that growth and not necessarily be tethered to them the whole way, see where we can help them grow. So that, I think, is a good example of seeing that happen.
Well, that's good to know that if you are, you know, if you have completed a loan and you are in good standing, if your business continues to grow, they can come back and get a second bite at the apple and yet again obtain a microloan.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the whole idea of the process, is, again, see that growth, and whenever it's not going to be us that are directly involved with them, that's fine. Just whatever we can be doing to see that growth.
Right. So if they grow to a level that their next loan is not $10,000, but now we're talking about, you know, $75,000. Now they may be bankable, as you mentioned, so that's a success story there.
Exactly. Our cap is $100,000, so we're never going to go over that.
Okay.
So yeah, at the point where it's past that, especially, that's when they'd be going on to a different institution.
Great. So starting with you, with Axion, a business starting with you gets financial help, and you mentioned if there's assistance required that's outside of your expertise, you have partners to refer.
Score Chicago would be a big one, just off the top of the head.
The solution station
exactly.
as well. Okay.
There's a plug.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a great one though. They help with that business plan aspect, I think, better than, not better than anybody, but what they do so well is they work with like an industry professional. So whatever that business is, if it's a restaurant, they can line you up with a different restaurant owner, professional in the field that understands what it takes. So they're great, and we work with them a lot, and they kind of refer clients our way as well when they're ready for financing, and when we see somebody who needs that technical assistance, we're able to do the same. The Law Project's another great one that's here at the Solution Station that helps on the legal side, obviously, and that's something for a small business, especially as they grow, that they usually just don't have the knowledge or experience in, and rightfully so. So as they continue to grow, that's something that is hugely beneficial to be able to understand that aspect of the business too. So again, that's not necessarily areas where we're experts in, so being able to have those partners is hugely tremendous for all of us.
Right. Well, it's good to know that if they come to you, that there's other partners that you have to help with more of a holistic assistance. Talk to me about what's on your website that's helpful. If I go to Accion Chicago, what information can I find useful without having to come in and see someone? If I'm just poking around and want to see, what can we find?
Sure. It's going to find those partners. If that's something right off the bat, it's going to give you a little description as far as our general terms, without getting into too many specifics up front. It's a little dependent on the situation, obviously, but it'll give you the terms, what our max loans are, kind of what our standard rates are. There's a link to our application online, so you can either call in or express some interest online, and it comes through, and then a loan officer, such as myself, would contact the business owner, or you can just apply right away online. It pulls your credit and just asks you to kind of give a quick snapshot of your financials, so that way we can have a specific idea when we have that first conversation, kind of where the business is at. So it'll highlight events, and we have some upcoming events coming up here in the next couple months too. So it'll give you a pretty good overall picture of what we do and what we offer.
Great.
Yeah.
And I understand you have second language speakers in
Yeah.
your office. So, as the mayor's very big proponent of immigrants starting small businesses,
Sure.
Tell me what languages that you have assistance in at Accion.
I'm laughing because my Spanish is still in progress, working on it again, but we definitely
Great.
do. I would say of our loan officer team, over half are fluent in Spanish.
Okay.
Again, not myself fluent, but getting there. But yeah, I would say over half of our staff members are fluent. There's some that focus on certain organizations that are Spanish speaking as a first language. So definitely that's a huge part of and understanding where our picture is and what our client base is being able to have employees on our end that are able to communicate well. So yeah, I would say over half of our staff are equipped to do so.
Great.
Yeah.
And talk to me about your social media presence. Do you have a Facebook page, Twitter?
Instagram, all the above, I think, and at Accion Chicago is going to be the link for both of those, and then the Facebook page is just Accion Chicago. And again, just highlighting events, but I think the coolest part about both of those are highlighting our clients. So most of the pictures you'll see are the clients that we work with, maybe a restaurant that has a link to their menu or to events that they're having, and that's a big thing for us, again, as far as the relationship, is being able to highlight and really help that business in whatever way we can. Maybe it's on a small level, but posting pictures on our Instagram, whatever the situation is. So at Accion Chicago for all those.
Perfect. And one question I meant to ask earlier, I forgot, is are there businesses that you see a lot that you can't help for one reason? So I want to just put out there,
Sure.
that way you make sure folks understand whether it's because of tax issues or documentation issues. Are there folks that you just no matter how much you'd like to help them, you can't? Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Nonprofits is going to be the big one that comes to mind, and L3Cs, which is kind of a designation, is one that we can work with, but a strict nonprofit is one that we cannot provide financing to. Again, maybe we can help link with other organizations, so I guess moral of the story is always call and see if we can help in any way, but as far as financing, a nonprofit is one that we couldn't. And then specific real estate ventures. So if as a business you're buying a new space to improve the business, that's absolutely something that we can help with if you're improving that space or whatever the situation, but specific real estate business is not something that we work with. But other than that, there's not really any limitations, and it's a very wide variety as far as the businesses we work with.
And how about the typical problems that you see small businesses encounter on the financing end? Just in terms of, either, not being sophisticated with, business organization or staffing problems, or how do people get into situations where they need, you talked about the predatory loans.
Sure.
We have been trying to do a lot of public education to make sure that people do not enter into these predatory-like loans. And especially understand that there's options such as Axion that can provide, pretty quick influx of cash, so long as that they have all their documentation.
Right. Navigating that is going to be the number one thing. So, I mean, everything that you're doing, that we're trying to do, just navigating that system, making sure the business is doing their homework before they get into a trap with anything there. I would say that's going to be the number one thing. And also just from more of a financial standpoint or their picture, having the business plan and having a well thought out kind of lean start model. So we work with peer startups in addition to existing businesses, so you don't have to have opened the doors even yet to start to look at the financing end of it. So I would say in that picture especially, just making sure that you have realistic projections, whether that means from a personnel standpoint, starting with a little bit less than you thought, maybe 1 or 2 employees, growing to 3 or 4 within X amount of months. Whatever makes sense for the business is ultimately what you need to do, but making sure you have a realistic startup point and have those costs factored in and factor in that you might not be making profits from the business for 4, 5, 6 months down the road, whatever the situation is for the business. So, so just being as prepared as possible. Again, if we can help with that or the other organizations, just having a good startup plan, a realistic plan to to get yourself in a healthy point and not spend too much up front.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. It is sometimes people walk into business with a rosier than
Sure.
realistic
Yeah.
expectation of what they're going to extract.
Mhm.
And when someone comes in with that situation, what are the things that you direct them to, or how do you help someone, or do you feel it's not your business or your place to say, hey, I think your projections here are a little out of whack based on the industry? So how do you
Right.
handle that?
In a way, it can be a tough conversation, but I think the realization is that it's an impactful one. So it's one that needs to be had. And again, we don't want to put ourselves in the position where we think we're the expert and the small business owner isn't. I mean, they understand their passion, their direction better than we do. But if we do see a red flag just kind of on a baseline thing, maybe having that conversation and again, linking them up with somebody where let's take a second look at this. Let's maybe bring in a professional from the industry who's gone through the exact same situation and see what they have to say about the situation and see what they think as far as what a realistic model is. So, yeah, good question. It's a conversation that I think that needs to be had when appropriate and just, again, being as helpful as we can, but a good way of being helpful sometimes is having that honest, direct conversation.
Mm-hmm. And what are the documents that you require? Do you require income tax returns, or is it just financial statements or balance sheets? Or if you could just walk me through what are the things that you need to see before you will give a loan?
Sure. And you talked about it a little bit. I mean, our goal with all this is to be able to work with good pace and good speed throughout it. So not necessarily that we're going to be really heavy on the documentation side, but also being thorough and understanding the picture. So to answer the question, it is case dependent. If it's an existing business looking for higher financing on our end, then definitely looking at tax returns, looking at personal bank statements, business bank statements. If it's a startup business, maybe looking at lower amounts of financing. It just can depend. I would say bank statements are always going to be in play, just so we can understand the personal cash flow, especially in the case of a startup. How much outside income do you have coming in, and whatever the situation, bank statements are going to be key. Tax returns are going to be dependent on the size of the loan, and especially if it's a business that's been around for 2 or 3 years, maybe looking at the business income that was reported last year too. So bank statements, tax returns dependent on the situation, and business plan, and maybe a balance sheet depending on the situation too, if it's an existing business looking for higher amounts.
Great. Yeah, I'm sure you're looking to see as well, whether they're reporting losses on their income tax and then reporting gains to you to be able to obtain a loan. So making sure that all of those statements are consistent is an important thing for you to be able to give money out.
Exactly. An accurate picture, whatever it kind of takes to get that is what we're looking for.
Great. All right. Was there anything that I haven't asked that you would like to talk about? Is there any upcoming initiatives that Axion is undertaking that you would like to disclose today?
One more plug. This is it. Taste of Axion is coming up in November, and it's an awesome event for us, definitely on the website and all those social media forums. Taste of Axion is at the Cultural Center downtown, and it's just a great event for our businesses and our partners. So referral partners such as banks and other organizations will be there. The businesses that we work with will be there and will be highlighted. We'll have guest speakers, including the businesses, again, that we work with. So it's just a great celebration of their successes, our partners that are involved in that process, and the business successes as well. So just a great celebration of what we're doing. So Taste of Axion, it's on the website. November 11th
November 11th,
is the
Taste
day
of
for
Axion.
it.
Great.
Yeah.
And so what, walking in, what can I expect to walk out with? So is this, is your target audience potential folks to give loans, or is it just kind of a celebration for, in general, what you guys do?
Yeah, both. So it can be somebody who we have not worked with, but a great opportunity for them to see the people that we do work with and see those successes and get them to be there as well. And then definitely our existing clients and our existing partners. So any organization that we work with, just so they see face-to-face the impact that they're having too by being involved with the process.
Great. And so that's November 11th at the
11th.
Cultural Center.
Yep.
And what are the times for the event?
Ooh, good question.
Okay.
On the website.
It'll be on the website. Okay, great,
Yeah.
great. Okay, great. Well, look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you.
Thank you, David, for being here today.
Thank you.
And that concludes our webinar for today with Accion Chicago, one of our Solution Station partners, who's found in the Solution Station, room 805 of City Hall, every other Thursday. Thank you.